Okay, so today we're going to start talking about the length of something. We're still looking at segments, okay, but we're going to start talking about the length. How long are things? What would you do on a ruler? Measure it, or you would just count, right? Okay, same thing here. I want to caution you, some of you, when you start to count, if you're going to count from here to here, some of you count the lines, 1, 2, 3 lines, but that's wrong. Because I really want to count the spaces, so we're going to bunny hop. Okay, how many of you have counted and you've been wrong every time? You were always off by 1. That's why. Because you counted the lines and you started where the dot is. If you're going to start where the dot is, but you're going to bunny hop, that's 1. And this would be 2. The second thing you miss is that you don't look at the numbers to see what are they counting by. Because they can count by 1s, but they can also skip and count by 2s. So you need to watch what gauge they're using. So for distance, for many times, you can just bunny hop and count. So this would be 2 units long. So look at number 1 down here. It's saying to go from B to D on this number line right here. From B to D, I want you to try and count.
B.
Mm-hmm.
There's no B.
On
Oh,
here.
on there.
On here.
4. Whoa. Wrong one.
So I should have bunny hopped. Number 1, I'm going to see how are they counting. Okay, by 1s, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was looking at the wrong paper.
That's okay. We're good. Now look at AF. How big is it from A to F? Now, I'm going to teach you another way, because counting isn't always fun. Would you agree? Number 2, can I have negative distance?
Yes.
I used the example the other day in my car. I put it in reverse and I drove home, so I drove home negative 4 miles.
No.
I was just sporty and drove backwards. I still went 4 miles. There's no such thing as a negative distance. That means you didn't go anywhere. You went somewhere. Which direction you go doesn't matter. Okay? So on this one right here, this is 0. So from 0 to this number, which is negative 9, I went 9 units. I just went to the left. Are we good? Then I went to the right. How many? 3 units. There's no such thing as negative, so we're going to use this symbol right here. Anybody know what that symbol is?
Absolute value.
Absolute value. What does it do to it?
It makes it positive.
Makes it positive. So this is really, I went 9 units and I went 3 units. So that makes 12 units. So from A to F, I went 12 units.
You have to do it that way or can you just count?
Okay. Do you have to do it that way?
No.
Many times you can count. However, as I've told you before, we're going to be doing fractions. Fractions. Okay? So can you count? Sure. But sometimes you're going to have to do the formula because with fractions it gets sticky if you try and count because you don't know exactly where it's landing and that kind of stuff. Okay? So DG. How far is it from D to G? Try to do the method rather than counting. Okay? Try to do the method rather than counting from D to G. So we're going from D to G. Here's 0. How far do we get from 0 to there? 1. And how do we go from here to here? 8. So that means my distance is 9. Counting? Sure. Okay, what about EF? Okay, so to find E and F, that's obvious because you're just going from 0 to 3, so that's 3 units. Great job. So the absolute value, this is what we just talked about. Okay, the absolute value means that whatever the number is, inside of it, we put a positive number. So if it's a negative 5, it becomes a positive 5. If it's a positive 7, it stays a positive 7. There's no such thing as negative distance. So now go down a little bit further, and let's look at 5, 6, 7, and 8. I want you to try them, and then we're going to come back and look at them. Okay, on this one, we're going to find CD. How is this one different than the one that we've already done?
Yeah.
It's going by 2s, and it doesn't ever go through 0. So that means whatever I do, I'm going to have to subtract 2 from it, right? And I have to count by 2s. So 8 and 6, what is 6 minus 2? And this would be 2 4. Are we okay? So I just did it both ways. I subtracted my numbers, 6 minus the 2, because I have 2 that I can't count. And then I have to, or I could bunny hop and count by 2s. So how many of you had 4 as your answer? Okay, how many of you missed the counting by 2s part?
I did the first time, but then I
Changed your mind? Good. What'd you get for number 6? First off, I have to find the 0. Same problem, right? So it's going to be a -2 minus a -1.
So that'd
Make
be
an absolute.
one.
But I have to absolute them, right? So is it really just
2 plus
2 minus 1?
Yeah.
Which is
One.
1. But wait a minute, there's a mark in between. So don't I just count that in bunny hop? 1, 2?
1.
That's a half.
Very good. They're counting by halves. Are you with me? Do you see where bunny hopping can get confusing? Because you're going to look at the lines and you're just going to want to bunny hop them. But if you do the formula, it removes it. Now, I also understand where the formula could be a little difficult. Are we good? Do I add or do I subtract? When do we subtract? Right, whenever it does not go through 0. And we're going to add when it does. Okay? Oh, number 7. Miss Ramsey, you're just mean. Right? Okay?
There.
Am I going to add or subtract?
Probably
Add.
half.
And we're going to add what?
Half.
So it's 1/2 plus -1/2.
Make that negative half absolute.
We have to absolute value this, so it's really 1/2 plus 1/2. Half and a half. Give
So
me.
it's one whole. You have half in it.
All right, and JK. Oh, JK. Am I going to add or subtract?
Subtract.
Okay, well here 0, does what we're looking for go through 0? So that means we're going to subtract. So I'm subtracting something. What are we subtracting? Okay, what's this right here? 1. Okay, so if I go backwards in the middle, what would this be?
Half.
A half. So that means this is
A
a
quarter.
4th, 2/4. This would be 3/4. So think of it as quarters, right?
Yeah.
Here I need 2/4. How much is 2/4?
Half cent.
50 cents, which is
1/2.
1/2.
Half a dollar.
Okay, this is what we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
There was no back, right? There is a back?
Let's get it, everybody.
It just says move.
Okay,